Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Big Four Football Podcast. We're going to start with the playoff matchups, reactions to the rankings, and whatever, and just your thoughts on the playoff rankings.
Well, I don't think they were a surprise to anybody. I think pretty much everyone had it in this order. I know Chris and his other Michigan fans in the blue wall media, as Mike would say, were convinced Michigan should be a 1 seed. But I don't think there's any shock here. I think we got a couple decent matchups that I think there's a high possibility that both of these games are good. I think in years past, there's been some of the 1-4 matchups or even the 2-3 matchups. We thought, you know what, this probably isn't going to be a great game. But I think both of these games have a chance of being good, solid, entertaining games.
Yeah, I mean, I am of the belief that Michigan should have been 1. I believe Michigan is the most complete team in the country, and I think that they're supposed to rank teams on how the best teams is what they say. But listen, I understand.
Yeah, well, Cincinnati should be ahead of Georgia.
No.
How is Michigan the most complete team? They can't even throw a forward pass.
I understand.
Chris, if you think Michigan should have been ahead of Alabama, by the same logic you're using, you have to put Cincinnati ahead of Georgia.
Why is that?
Because Georgia has no good wins.
Cincinnati's more.
I didn't say anything about their wins. I just said I think Michigan's a more complete team than Alabama.
Cincinnati's resume is better.
Set aside watching the.
I'm not gonna sit here and complain about that forever. I understand they don't want Bama and Georgia to play in the first round. I understand there's a lot of other things that go into it. So whatever.
Well, it's the SEC bias because they want to guarantee an SEC team in the championship.
Yeah, they do. It's true.
Chris, you don't have an argument because the BCS had the exact same ranking. It had Michigan 2 and Alabama 1. So there you can't really say anything about that.
Fine. I'm not gonna complain too much about it.
You are.
Well, listen, I disagree, but it wasn't like a heavy disagreement.
Listen. The one game I've seen Michigan in person, they are not more complete than anybody.
And frankly, I believe that as a Michigan fan, this is definitely the right year to make the playoff. There is not a team in the country that is unbeatable as there have been in years past. We've seen with LSU,
except for Michigan State,
Alabama last year. Listen, this is the right year to make it. Alabama has a lot of flaws. Georgia has a lot of flaws. Cincinnati's a group of 5 team. So Michigan has a chance. I don't really like the matchup against Georgia. I think we're getting into that later, right? But
probably.
But yeah. I'm happy we made it. The one thing I didn't like about these rankings was there was Baylor being behind Ohio State and Notre Dame. That didn't make a lot of sense to me, but didn't matter in the end because they didn't make it. So, whatever.
I don't think it mattered. Once after the top 4, I think everyone knew who the top 4 was going to be, and after that, the next 4 teams didn't matter.
Yeah, can't really complain a whole lot. It's pretty much what I would have done too. Thought it was interesting that Baylor didn't jump Ohio State or Notre Dame. So, I mean, there could have been some intriguing arguments if more chaos had happened. But besides that, really not a whole lot.
I think if you had some chaos and the 4th spot was open, I think Baylor probably would end up jumping them, just because you couldn't put Ohio State or Notre Dame. You could put Notre Dame in over them. I don't think you could really put Ohio State in over Baylor.
Well, set aside watching the games, Ohio State's a better team than Baylor.
Well, yes, that's right, because that's what the committee did with Michigan and Michigan State.
No, I mean, that's what they should do. I mean, it doesn't matter. The games don't matter. It's just about who's the best teams. Yeah, I think they did a good job putting the best 4 teams in. Cincinnati's definitely a top 4 team this year. And the other 3 teams are too. I saw arguments for Georgia shouldn't make it. They were sleepwalking against Alabama. They knew they could lose and get in. So, I mean, that's obviously a problem. That's a problem. That would be a problem with the 12-team playoff, is teams wouldn't really care. But I don't really care about that either. So it doesn't matter to me.
Well, you could say the same thing about basketball. I mean, teams do that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the conference tournament means nothing in college basketball. No. So
Well,
unless you're
In the
desperate.
yes.
ACC, in the
Unless
ACC, it
Michigan
means
wins the
everything.
conference tournament, yes.
Yeah, but they still put up banners in the ACC, even though they're not supposed to. They don't get a trophy for it. All right, Michigan with an impressive win against a terrible Iowa team that had no business being in that game. But they were in it anyways, and Michigan ran up the score at the end. But I mean, what else would Harbaugh do? I mean, you had no doubts.
I
So
mean,
react to this game.
the bigger problem. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody. The bigger problem is how uneven the Big Ten has. Just they can never get a good championship game because the divisions are so uneven.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I mean, that's a
Well,
joke.
since they went to this division, has there been a single close, intriguing game? I guess what was that Penn State Iowa a couple years ago? Was it
Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Iowa.
Michigan State,
Michigan
Iowa,
State
yeah.
Iowa is what I was thinking of. Since they've gone to these new divisions,
Penn State, Wisconsin was close.
they haven't been great matchups.
Yeah, usually because Ohio State's in them.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, it'd be the opportunity of like an Ohio State Michigan Big Ten championship or Ohio State Penn State. Even if Ohio State makes it, there are better teams that the Big Ten can match people up with. Even Michigan makes it. I mean, they eliminate so many possible conference championship options when that weekend's going to be the most watched game of the year.
Yeah, I mean, great win. Unbelievable season. Out of nowhere, unranked to start the year. Obviously, myself included, there was a lot of pressure on Jim Harbaugh on this team coming into the season, and they delivered. He got the team back. Last year was a clown show, but he got the team back, and they won the Big Ten. It was a surreal feeling to watch them do that after all the pain that I've suffered as a fan over the last however many years.
Oh, you win 10 games a year. Boo-hoo.
All the pain, all the heartbreaking losses, all the chokes. Finally, we did it.
Well, at least you didn't go 3-9.
I was very impressed with the play calling by Josh Gaddis. They got creative at the beginning of the game and set the tone. And obviously, after they scored the first touchdown.
Well, they knew they weren't the better team, so they had to pull out the trick plays to try to steal a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Cade McNamara played a great game. We didn't run the ball great, but Iowa has a pretty good run defense. Iowa offensively, not a great team, obviously.
They're not a great team at anything.
Yeah.
I don't know how they won 10 games.
Yeah, they're not very good. So we definitely get a little fortunate with the matchup. But listen, we are Big Ten champs. I am apologizing to Jim Harbaugh for everything.
No, you're co-Big Ten East champs.
He deserves a lifetime contract, and he's the greatest coach in the history of college football.
Yeah, the
Jesus
LSU fans
Christ.
were saying the same thing about Ed Orgeron after he won the national championship that year.
And
Look how that turned out.
I'll touch on the Georgia matchup real quick here. Horrible matchup for Michigan.
I actually don't think it's that bad of a matchup because I don't know how good Georgia is. Now, when I look back
It's a
at
horrible
their resume
matchup.
and seeing their teams, I mean, I don't think it's a good matchup but it's not like Michigan
Terrible
can score a lot of
matchup.
points anyway.
Well, here's the thing. I think Michigan's better, but I think it's a bad matchup.
Over under rushing yards, 0 for Michigan.
It's a Michigan is the better team, but it is a bad matchup. Obviously, Georgia stops the run very well. And,
Yeah, but Georgia has not played good in any game that they haven't played any games that
They haven't played
Okay.
good in any game that matters, which is one. One game.
well, two.
Well, fine. You want to say the Clemson game mattered? Sure.
Yeah, but they barely beat Clemson.
I mean, they barely beat a top 5 team at the time, I guess.
Yeah, but they weren't. They ended up. I mean, they handled Arkansas, I guess, but they weren't great. I mean, they haven't played a good.
Arkansas
Clemson.
and Michigan are similar teams.
Clemson, decent, I guess. I mean, they ended up being a back end top 25 team. Then they played UAB, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, all horrible teams. Arkansas, who's solid, but I mean, same thing with Clemson. They're a back end top 25 team. They played Auburn, who I guess Kentucky's probably the best team they played.
Yeah, I agree. I think Michigan's the better team, but it's a bad matchup. Georgia is great at stopping the run, and they're also great at running the ball. And at times, that's been Michigan's biggest weakness is stopping the run. So it's a horrible matchup, but we are the better team. So we'll see what happens there. How that all culminates. I'm praying that Stetson Bennett starts, because if he does, we definitely have a chance, because he is horrible.
He is good when they run the ball well. He sucks when they don't run. He's like Cade
not a good
McNamara.
quarterback. He's a bad quarterback.
No, he's not.
He makes way too many mistakes.
He's a solid B+ quarterback.
No.
You can't ask him to win you a game. He's not good enough for that.
He's
So
not
it's just
good.
like Cade. You asked Cade to win a game, he couldn't do it. So I mean, it's
he
a
did,
similar
he did
thing.
enough, and then they brought in his backup. He fumbled.
No, well, make a better throw at the end of the game. Don't get picked off.
So this is
Listen,
again, before Mike goes here, this is again Michigan State inserting themselves into the conversation.
I'm just messing with you.
Inserting themselves into the conversation.
This is all I have.
Luke, do you know how many times I go on Twitter a day and I just see random Michigan State fans talking about their win against Michigan? Like,
stop it!
why
It
do they
goes both
care?
ways.
Why do they care?
Why?
How come that Don Thomas guy's
Chris,
with us? I want to know
come
that.
on, Chris, deep down that it bothers you that you couldn't beat that Mel
I don't
Tucker's your
care.
guy. Deep
It
down,
changes nothing.
how do you feel that Michigan State can now hang a Big Ten champions banner because they beat
No,
you and you
Luke,
won the Big Ten
Luke.
championship?
Luke, Michigan fans don't feel bad about losing because they didn't lose. They got robbed. It was basically a Michigan win because they were playing the refs and Michigan
Well, they
State.
did get robbed. That's true.
Yeah, that's why.
Mike, they also had to play at Spartan Stadium,
Yeah, I mean,
which is
for the-
ridiculous.
for the first
How dare
50
they switch?
years-
How dare they play any game outside the Big House?
I mean, for the first 50 years when we weren't in the Big Ten, it was played at the Big House every year. So I don't know why they have to go on the road now. I mean, it makes no sense. And well, I mean, they did pack the woodshed, or the fuck they raid the woodshed, or the hell they talked about.
Yeah, we did.
Well,
We took it over.
it should be like the Deering Portland rivalry, always played at Portland, every single year.
You know what? That's a great point, actually. Good job for Michigan. I don't want to give Harbaugh too much credit. I mean, the reason why he's here is because his team's really freaking good, like really freaking good. I mean, yeah, obviously he gets credit for recruiting the guys, but in game, when you can run the ball for 6 yards a carry, every coach is going to look great.
Yeah, well, according to you, if you can run the ball for 6 yards a carry, you still should pass.
Well, yeah, early in the year, the reason why they lost the Michigan State game is because they weren't prepared to throw the ball.
Yeah, that's why they threw the ball for like 400 yards on Michigan State.
Yeah, that's bad. Most teams throw for more. I mean, they couldn't do it at the end of the game anyway. But here's the thing. I mean, it was great season for Michigan. But, I mean, for the people saying, I've got to bring this back to Michigan State just to bother you. For people saying, oh, Harbaugh should win Coach of the Year, I mean, look at his team. His team is one of the best teams in the country. Michigan State, fringe top 25.
Again, why are we talking about Michigan State? Why?
Because, I've seen people saying Harbaugh got robbed for the Big Ten Coach of the Year. And it's bullshit.
I don't really think he cares if he wins Coach of the Year.
He does. I mean, the recruits love it. So, I mean, the winner of the Coach of the Year. It's a big time award. It really is. But listen, all jokes aside, that was a good win. I was expecting Iowa to win, and I was expecting Michigan to win.
Really, you're expecting Iowa to take that?
Chris, what you have to realize when it comes to Mel Tucker is that when it's about the players have to know it's about the team. But when it comes to the coach, it's all about the individual.
Yeah, Luke, did you see the graphic for Michigan State going to the Peach Bowl?
Well, yes.
No, the recruits like it.
The recruits like that. It's just a picture of Mel Tucker.
Chris, I'm a little concerned about.
Like it.
I'm a little concerned about Tucker's tweet about that. He said, "Spartan Nation, who is coming to Atlanta?" ? Is he announcing he's leaving to go to Georgia Tech and that?
Wow.
And that he's trying to pull the.
He's trying to get fans to go with it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought it was a play on words. He's
Mel
saying,
Tech.
"Oh, who's coming? Tuck coming."
Mel Tech.
That's right, Mel Tech. I mean, he left Colorado after 1 year, and then he'll leave Michigan State after 2. He doesn't like staying in the same place.
And then he'll leave Georgia Tech after 3.
Well, Georgia Tech's a bigger job than Georgia.
I mean, Yeah, I mean they've won a national championship more recently. Michigan, good team, saw a really good team. Harbaugh, I mean, he's had teams like this in the past and he couldn't get it done. So I guess, the bar was on the floor and he was able to step over it. So good job. He didn't fuck it up this year.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been in this position. We would have lost to Ohio State.
More
if
of
we had a
Ohio
quarterback
State
that
fucking
lost
it
us
up, but-
games. If Wilton Speight was playing quarterback for this team, we would have lost to Ohio State. If Shea Patterson was playing quarterback for this team, we would have lost to Ohio State. This team does not turn the ball over, and most of that's from the quarterback position.
Well, they would have won. They would have won 49-17 if what's his name didn't throw the pick in the first quarter against Ohio
Wilton
State.
Speight would have thrown like 4 picks. So
Yeah, well, maybe don't try a play action pass from your own 1 yard line. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Michigan, you can't say the Indy jokes anymore. You can't say the Big Ten jokes
that's
anymore.
right. That's right.
No, but we can say the Pasadena jokes because Michigan still hasn't made it to the Rose Bowl.
That's right. Jim Harbaugh refuses to go to the Rose Bowl. So, I mean, if I were him, I would say I would refuse the playoff invitation and just take the Rose Bowl. If I
Yeah.
was him,
Yeah.
so he can get those jokes out of the way, and don't lose by 20 to Georgia, which they're going to lose because Georgia's way better.
Well, no, they're
And
not.
they have way more talent. And they got a better quarterback and a better coach and better defense and a better offense and a better offensive line. This is going to be 2015. I mean,
And what
Michigan State's going to win their bowl game.
What?
Michigan's going to lose, and then Michigan State's going to claim they had a better season.
Other than your excuse of saying Georgia was sleepwalking, why did they just get housed yesterday by a team that has struggled all year with horrible teams?
No, they didn't really care because they knew they
yeah,
were
of
in.
course.
They knew they were in with a win or a loss.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they were
we all
trying to
know
help
we
the
all
SEC.
know Alabama gets better as the year goes on.
Well, they were horrible the week before.
I think he did
so-
his old boss Nick Saban a favor by letting him win.
Yeah, but Chris, that's a rivalry game.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Auburn's horrible.
All right,
It's
speaking
a
of that
rivalry
game,
game at your rival.
speaking of that game, reactions to the Alabama Georgia game.
I mean, I'm just not shocked. I thought Georgia was going to win, but now looking back on it, we all should have seen it coming.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was very surprised. Georgia, I know I said it last week. They hadn't played anybody, but I didn't think that was going to be a problem because I thought Alabama was terrible, and it turns out that's not true. Alabama had struggled with, they struggled with Arkansas at home, they struggled with Auburn, they struggled with LSU at home. They lost to A&M. They've had some questionable games, but they showed up. Bryce Young was going to win the Heisman. Stetson Bennett was horrible. He is not good at quarterback. He is terrible. Georgia couldn't run the ball, which is a problem. I don't know how that's possible, to be honest with you, how they couldn't run the ball in Alabama. But
Because Alabama's good.
no, Alabama has had plenty of struggles all season, and they play Georgia and they dominate them.
Their defense didn't struggle against Auburn.
Yeah, they really did struggle.
Auburn can't score.
Yeah, because Alabama was playing defense.
The last game Alabama struggled on defense was the A&M game. They haven't struggled since. They've been very good.
Yeah, well, they gave 35 to Arkansas, so.
Yeah, well, Arkansas is a different animal. We know that they can really light up the scoreboard.
Yeah. I was surprised. I'm very concerned about Georgia as a team, to be honest. I mean, Kirby choked smart again. Choked.
Not a choke because they still got in the playoff.
He choked again. He can never beat Alabama. And I'm very concerned about Georgia.
Obviously, it's not the result.
It's very reminiscent of the early Harbaugh days.
Well, this is not the result that we wanted, but we're still in a great position to make the playoff. Listen, I mean, Georgia, this might be a blessing in disguise, actually. I mean, you lose the game. Not only do you lose, you get destroyed. And then it's sort of a reality check. You realize, listen, we're not as good as we thought we were. And that this could be a good thing for them. Because I still think Georgia's got as good of a chance to win this thing as anybody right now. Because, Alabama, they've got.
They do. Everybody has a good chance. Everybody has a good chance to win except for Cincinnati because it's wide open.
No. Cincinnati's got a better chance to beat Alabama than Michigan has to beat Georgia.
Cincinnati's a bad football team.
No, no, they aren't. But Georgia, listen, I mean, I think Michigan's a great matchup for them because they can stop the run, and I don't think Cade can beat you through the air. And I don't think they have the weapons to beat them through the air either. Listen, Georgia coming in, we didn't know how great their pass defense was because they've been able to
Turns out it's not good.
they've been able to get pressure on everybody. So it doesn't. So when they weren't able to get pressure, then they're obviously their secondary looks bad. So
They
We'll
you know what
see.
they have? They have a Don Brown defense.
no,
Yep, they
not
have.
even the
They
same
have.
scheme.
They have a Don Brown defense. It's a Mickey Mouse defense that plays well against bad teams.
No,
That's what
well,
they
the
are.
Don Brown defense will work against Michigan because they can't pass.
No, it won't work against Michigan because they're
Yeah, well,
disciplined
they can't
team and they'll
pass.
complete their. They'll just throw a little crossing route and then they'll go running.
They don't even play a lot of man, do they?
I don't know, but I know their secondary sucks and they get lit up through the air against good teams. So it's basically
Okay.
Don Brown. I'm pretty sure Don Brown must be the DC at Georgia right now.
Well, I mean, Mel Tucker, Kirby Smart, both same sort of thing. Both pass defenses suck. I mean, it's a pattern, isn't it? But Alabama, they look great, but I think I don't think Georgia. Obviously, I mean, you think Georgia would want to slay the dragon of Alabama, but I don't know if they were fully in it. I don't know if they were fully in the game, to be honest with you. I mean, they knew. Obviously, they want to win the game, but it's sort of the conference tournament thing. It's like, oh, we already know we're in, so and we already know we're going to be in the playoffs. Just like if you're a conference, if you're like a number one seed in the tournament, oh, we don't really
but the
think
conference
tournament.
championship for basketball is already over at that point. You want to win your conference.
Yeah, winning the national championship is more important than winning the conference,
Well, no,
and that's the most important thing.
so win both.
Okay, yeah, obviously you'd want to win both, but I mean, you're looking ahead a little bit. I think there was part of that. I think that was certainly an aspect to it. And Alabama played a great game plan. They executed. Mechie's out for the season now. That'll hurt, but I'm sure they got another 5-star receiver. They'll get in there. So yeah, great win for Alabama. All right. Reactions to this Oklahoma State Baylor game.
I mean, just a good game. I think we were expecting a good game. I thought Oklahoma State was going to win, but the classic Gundy choke, and that's what happened.
Yeah, he's James Franklin with a mullet.
Well, actually, James Franklin's Gundy without him, who's bald, because Gundy was doing it decades before James Franklin even started.
Fair enough.
Yeah, great game. Dave Aranda, I mean, just an incredible job he's done at Baylor.
He's a genius.
They win this game with a backup quarterback. Very impressive. I was very disappointed in a lot of things that Mike Gundy did in this game. But listen, they got down to the goal line.
Didn't matter. They had a chance to win at the last
Exactly. I
play.
was going to say they got down to the goal line with a chance to win the game, and they just couldn't get in. Spencer Sanders was a complete disaster in this game. He is the reason they lost, and it's a complete joke that he showed up and threw 4 picks in the Big 12 championship.
I mean, he had a 51 QBR. That's not horrible.
Yeah, he threw 4 picks. You can't throw 4 picks.
Oklahoma State, it's a tough way to lose, but even if they won, I don't think they make it.
Yeah, they would have been. You had to put them in over Cincinnati.
No, they would not have made it. The way Cincinnati beat Houston,
They beat Houston.
maybe there'd be more pressure on Cincinnati if they knew that Oklahoma State won. Maybe they'd play differently, but
Houston is not a good team.
The committee shows they don't respect Baylor by not putting them below Ohio State. So, I mean, even if they beat Baylor, they would have, I don't think they would have made it. I still don't think they would have made it. So, but especially when you throw 4 picks, you look like shit. You still win the game. You're not going to be putting over Cincinnati because Cincinnati's looking way better than Oklahoma State right now. But credit to Dave Aranda. I think people are going to they're going to rue the day they didn't get him. LSU, I don't know about LSU, but some of these other big openings, Oklahoma, maybe even Notre Dame. I mean, Dave Aranda's a great coach. He's been a long time assistant. He understands the landscape of college football. He's a budding star. He's going to win a lot at Baylor, and then if he goes somewhere else, he'll win a lot wherever he goes. He's a great coach. He understands you need to be process driven. You need to be process driven to win. He understands recruiting is the most important aspect. It doesn't matter. None of the other stuff matters. Recruiting, and that'll win you a lot of games. And then look at he's developed his players. He's done a great job there. And listen, my top two guys who are moving up the totem pole in terms of coaching, being great coaches, it's Dave Aranda and Mel Tucker. Those two are they've proven to be very good X's and O's coaches, and they've proven that they value recruiting and the transfer portal and getting great players. And so good for him. That was a great win. The fact he won the conference in year 2 is very impressive. And let's see if they can win the Sugar Bowl and cap it off. We'll see if they can do it. Oklahoma State, they still got the Fiesta Bowl. They'll be fine. All right. Speaking of Cincinnati, pretty impressive win against Houston, a Houston team that's won 11 in a row. They put them away in the second half. So reactions to Cincinnati being the first Group of 5 team to make the playoff.
Yeah. Obviously a big day for the Group of 5 team. Show that you can do it, but I mean, it does also show that the only way you do it with a ton of chaos, just an absolute amount of chaos, and a season that we haven't seen since I don't even remember when. And but it's just funny that Cincinnati and Michigan are the teams that throw everything what Chris said about the playoff out the window.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care if they played Houston. Good for them for getting in. They're going to get killed by Alabama.
I disagree. Cincinnati deserves to be in. They're a top 4 team in the country. They're, I think I had them number 2 a couple
They should
weeks
refuse
ago.
to go to the playoff and just claim the national championship because they're the only team that went undefeated.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Cincinnati they're a great football team. They're not a good football team. They're a great football team. They proved it this year. They went to South Bend and they took it to Notre Dame. They controlled that game, won the game easily. Notre Dame ended up being number 5 in the playoff rankings. And then listen, yeah, they had a midseason slump a little bit. They were barely beating some teams, but at the end of the year, when
they got bored.
Yeah, they got bored. And when it really mattered at the end of the year, they turned it on and they won their 2 biggest games of the year at the end of the year. Killed SMU and beat Houston easily. They deserve to be here. They're going to give Alabama some fits. It's a tough matchup for them. I think if they played Michigan or Georgia, they'd have a better chance to win. But it's going to be a close game. I think Cincinnati's got the tools. They're as complete as anybody in the country. They're a great offense, a great defense. They got a great quarterback. And they're well coached. I mean, what else can you ask for? All right. You want to pick a game from this weekend? Any conference championship game to talk about?
Not really. We touched on most of them.
Yeah. I mean,
Good win for UTSA. Cap off a great season, and what a choke by Brady Hoke. And
Brady choke.
Yeah, that's right. And your guy Rocky Lombardi gets it done throwing the ball 12 times.
Yeah, I know we're going to get into Mario Cristobal later, but what a embarrassing performance from Oregon in the Pac-12 championship.
No,
Just no.
it wasn't. Utah's a better team.
Utah, Kyle Whittingham, one of the best coaches in the country. Congratulations to Utah. And as Luke was saying earlier in the week, that was one of the best gets ever in terms of expansion of conferences.
Yeah, I got to talk about my guy Rocky Lombardi. I mean, he was He's not a Power 5 level quarterback, but when it really mattered last year, he took us. He put the team on his back. He beat a top 15 Michigan team, and then he beat a top 10 Northwestern team. Now, sprinkled in there, you had a bad performance. He was benched a couple times, but listen, he's a Spartan legend. He'll always be a Spartan legend. And it's just I'm glad that he's found his home. It was a great fit in Northern Illinois. They needed a guy like him, guy who could stabilize the offense. He could still make some throws once in a while. He's a good deep ball thrower. And in games where they needed him to throw, he threw the ball well. In games where they run the ball great and he didn't need to throw, he just hands the ball off. And he really does a great job relaying the play from the coach to the team. He does a great job at that. And that was a heck of a win for Northern Illinois. 0-6 to 9-4. It was the Rocky Lombardi effect, man. He is a winner. He will always be a winner. He can do whatever the hell he wants. He can go kill somebody. I wouldn't care. He is a true legend. Nobody will be him ever. He's the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. All right. So let's look at the Big Ten Bowl matchups here. And I guess we'll go through each one. And you can just say who you think, or even say who you're leaning is going to win. So we'll start with December 28th. This is the first one. The Guaranteed Rate Bowl, West Virginia versus Minnesota. Who do you think has a favorable matchup? You think Minnesota has a chance?
I think Minnesota's probably the favorite. West Virginia's had a very Jekyll and Hyde year. I feel like you never really know what you're getting out of West Virginia. Minnesota's had a good year. I would imagine they cap it off, end up going 9-4, bowl win, successful year for Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota should win the football game. West Virginia is a very poor football team. They're just not good.
I mean, they are poor there too.
Yeah, sure. They're just not good. Simple as that. Minnesota should win the game.
I mean, yeah, you look at like opponents. West Virginia loses at Maryland. Minnesota kills Maryland. Yeah, Minnesota's better. And PJ Fleck, he's been really good in bowl games. I think he treats bowl games like the Super Bowl for the team, and I think it shows. And I think they should win that game. All right, the New Era Pinstripe Bowl, Maryland, Virginia Tech.
Yeah, an old ACC rivalry. Both teams 6-6. I think it's a lot of these bowl games come down to how much a coach can motivate the team to actually want to play. But if you just look on paper, I think Maryland's the better team. I just think Ta'alua will be a difference maker in this matchup. I don't think he's a difference maker as a player, but in this matchup, he could be a difference maker. So I think that it should probably favor Michigan, not Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, Virginia Tech doesn't have a coach for this game.
Yeah, but that might help them. Fuente being gone might be a positive.
I expect Maryland to win the football game. Maryland's a great team. They've been a great team all year, well-coached team. Talia Tagovailoa is a great quarterback. Maryland's going to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect Maryland to win. Virginia Tech's got a lot of things that they're worried about. Obviously, the new coach coming in, interim staff. I know that could possibly be a thing. And then, going 6-6 when they were expected to be a lot better. I worry about motivation issues possibly. I think this is a big spot for Maryland. I think they'll take care of business there. All right, the Music City Bowl. This will be an interesting matchup. We got Tennessee and Purdue.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think both teams have pretty bad defenses, but they have good offenses, above average offenses. This game's going to be a shootout, I think. Obviously, it's in Nashville. I think it's in Tennessee. It's going to be a huge crowd advantage there for Tennessee. Who knows with Purdue if they'll show up or not, but I'll probably lean towards Tennessee in this game at the moment, but we'll see how as we get closer to the game what happens.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't know what Purdue team we're gonna get. They can be so good on any given day and just be terrible the next week. I mean, we've seen Tennessee hang in there with some good teams this year. They beat Kentucky. Um, they're probably a little bit better than 7-5. Hendon Hooker's had a pretty good year as well. So I think Tennessee is going to win the game.
Yeah, it'll be a home game for Tennessee. Purdue doesn't travel well, even if they don't play a team like Tennessee. But I mean, yeah, you do wonder about what Purdue team you're going to get. You wonder if David Bell's going to sit out the bowl game. You wonder, what type of Aiden O'Connell you're going to get too. If the good Purdue shows up and they play well, that they have a chance to win. But I think Tennessee, this is a big game for Tennessee. I think their fans will be there. It'll be a home game. I lean Tennessee also in this game. All right. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Michigan State and Pitt.
I think Tucker's going to have the team up and ready playing for this game. I think Michigan State is the better team, but I think it's a horrible matchup for him. I really do. I mean, Michigan State's weakness all year has been their secondary. Kenny Pickett's been the best, probably top 3 quarterback in the country, top 2 quarterback in the country when it comes to just pure passing wise. I really think it's a horrible, horrible matchup for Michigan State.
Yeah, Pickett's going to play in the game, right? He's not going to sit out.
Yeah,
I'd imagine. I think it.
Stock.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think it's gonna.
We throw for
he's gonna-
550.
Yeah, I agree with Luke. I expect the game to be close. Michigan State will be ready to go 100%, but it's a bad matchup. I mean, Kenny Pickett, as was said, was probably the best quarterback in the country this year. And Michigan State has had their problems in their secondary. I'll lean Pitt.
Yeah, if you read my blog today, you would have saw that I picked Pitt to win the game.
I actually did read your blog. You picked them 38-34.
Yeah, I did. I think Pitt's the better team. I disagree. Pitt's the better team. The power rating wise, they're the better team. They're favored because they're the better team, and obviously because our defense sucks. But I'll be interested to see what kind of changes we make in the secondary. It's a month between now and the game, so you wonder, what changes is he going to make? I expect everybody to play. I don't expect anybody to sit out. I think it's a big enough game that everybody's going to play. One thing I do worry about is, Pitt. They're very good at stopping the run. It's the Mark D'Antonio 4-3 defense. They focus on stopping the run. So I'll be interested to see if we can run the ball. And then defensively, we haven't been able to get pressure on anybody really since the Nebraska game. Really, I mean, we haven't been able to get a whole lot of pressure. You want to get pressure on him. He's a hell of a quarterback. I've been hyping him up for years. He's not the guy I wanted to see in this game. I wanted to see Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl, but this is what you're dealt. Pittsburgh's a very good team. They have a bunch of super seniors on their team. They're experienced, and they're solid on both ends of the field. And their defense isn't quite as good as you usually think of Pitt defenses being, but solid team. I would lean Pitt in this game to win at this point, unless Kenny Pickett sits out or something. But if he wants to help his draft stock, he should play. All right.
Yeah, I don't think he'll sit out just because he's I mean, how many quarterbacks have we seen sit out of games like this? Or I just don't think I can't see him sitting out, especially it's a New Year's Six Bowl.
Yeah, Kyle Trask playing, it ruined his draft stock. So, all right, the Las Vegas Bowl, Wisconsin and Arizona State.
I think Wisconsin dominates this game. I really do. It might not be score-wise domination, but I think they'll dominate them on the line of scrimmage. Absolutely dominate them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Wisconsin will probably be the more prepared team. I like Jaden Daniels a lot. I think he will keep Arizona State in the game, but Wisconsin is probably outside of the Minnesota.
He's thrown 10 touchdowns all year.
Yeah, he struggled a little bit, but I still like him a lot. He's gonna win the Heisman next year.
His stats make Graham Mertz look like freaking Peyton Manning.
Except
Well,
he
this
has
might be
better
the
stats than
worst
Graham
QB
Mertz.
matchup in all the bowls.
I will lean Wisconsin, but I wouldn't be surprised if ASU won.
I mean, if you put Mertz and Daniel's stats together, they're still not as good as Kenny Pickett. They're not as good as anybody. They have less passing yards if you combine the two than Kenny Pickett does all year. And they don't even get halfway to Bailey Zappi. So
Daniels is gonna win the Heisman next year.
yeah, Arizona State's they've had a lot of injury, not just injuries. They've had just pure attrition problems, whether that's transfers, whether that's people quitting the team, getting kicked off the team. It's been just a really turbulent year for Arizona State. I mean, credit to them for going 8-4. Obviously, their schedule was pretty crap. The Pac-12 was bad, but give them credit for that. Wisconsin, you thought that they were going to make the Big Ten championship game, a little bit disappointing. But Wisconsin always plays well in bowl games every year. Last year they played who they play Wake. They beat them pretty good last year. They played Miami in a bowl game. They beat them pretty good. I mean, Wisconsin always shows up in bowl games, it seems like. So, yeah, I would favor Wisconsin in this game. You want to talk about the playoff game? I guess that counts as a bowl game, so we could talk about it.
Well, we talked about it earlier. I think Michigan is going to have an uphill battle against Georgia. I don't think it's impossible by any stretch of the imagination. But Georgia obviously is favored and rightfully so. But I think Michigan could give them a game. I really do.
Yeah, I think it'll be really close. I just lean Georgia because of the matchup. Michigan's gonna have to get some help from Stetson Bennett if they're gonna win the game. Hopefully, Georgia has some bad play calls. They throw on first down. Bennett throws a couple picks. That's the formula to win the game.
Well, I'm looking at the stats between Stetson Bennett and Cade McNamara, and it's not even close. So I'll take Stetson Bennett. 24 TDs, 7 picks. First 15 and 4.
Let's see. Cade has more yards and
Doesn't
less
matter.
Picks, so
he also has 9 less touchdowns.
Yeah, and he also has. So he has 3 less.
And Stetson Bennett doesn't have thunder and lightning in the backfield.
He has 3 less picks on 30 less attempts. 80 less attempts.
No, that's not how it works. You got to take into account when the picks happened. Okay, Georgia. I think it's as close to a nightmare match as you can get for this Michigan team, because I think this Michigan team is great. It's a great Michigan team, but of the other 3 teams, I think this is the worst matchup they could have had, or the other 2 teams, because what Georgia does is built to stop a team like Michigan. Michigan's going to want to run the ball. They're going to want to establish it, get 4, 5, 6 yards of carry. If it happens, I would be shocked. But if it does, I mean,
if it happens, we're winning the whole thing.
Yeah, you're right. If they're able to block Jordan Davis up front, then they're going to win, and they're going to win the championship probably. I don't see it happening. I think that's why I said, yesterday's results, I think it was a net negative for Michigan, because them beating Iowa was a given. But what you didn't want was to face Georgia in the first round. That's the worst possible matchup they could have had. I think Georgia, their offensive line struggled against Alabama, but they're usually able to run the football. As good as Aiden Hutchinson is, he struggles against the run. Michigan State went after him in the running game, and he struggled. And no other team, there wasn't really another team that ran the ball well enough to even test that, except for Ohio State, but they didn't even try to run. So, I don't know. Is Georgia good enough to run the ball? I mean, they've been able to run the ball on most people, so we'll see. And then their play action. Say what you want about Stetson Bennett. When they can run the ball, Stetson Bennett's play action game is as good as anybody. He can set up the play action and get those 5-star wide receivers out in the routes and make some plays. What's his name? Brett Bowers, the hell his name is. Great tight ends. Brock Bowers. So it's a nightmare match for Michigan. I'd favor Georgia in this game right now. All right, the Outback Bowl, Penn State and Arkansas.
It'll be an interesting game, I think. To be honest with you, I like Arkansas in this game just because I think they'll be up for it. I don't think Penn State will be up for it, and that's basically the entire game, in my opinion. I think Arkansas is going to want to be there and want to win, and I don't think Penn State will be.
Yeah, I agree. Penn State's not going to care. They're going to be ill prepared, and that's going to be the complete opposite for Arkansas. They're a very well coached team. They're always ready to go for every game. Arkansas is going to blow the doors off Penn State.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think Arkansas is going to win. I think Penn State's a better team, but Arkansas is going to be, they're going to be up for the game. Wouldn't be shocked if they sold out that stadium. Be probably 80% Arkansas fans. I mean, they haven't been to a bowl game in years, and it's a big bowl game for them.
Yeah, it's no slouch.
So that's going to be big for them. I think Arkansas, it'll be a close game, I think, but Arkansas will win just because, they'll be more prepared. They'll be ready. And it'll be a 7-6 year for James Franklin. That's tough, Penn State. And I don't know if you've seen Penn State's schedule next year, but it's brutal. I was looking at the
especially because if
schedule.
they're going to fly him out, they're going to have to pay him $90 million.
Penn State has to go to Auburn next year. They have to go to Michigan. They play Michigan State, of course. They play Ohio State. And I think they had one of the good teams from the West, too. So it's going to be, they're going to have to really be good next year. But, I mean, maybe they can use the Outback Bowl as a spring off point, possibly, I guess. That's what they always say, and bowls usually mean nothing towards next year. But, all right, the Citrus Bowl, Iowa and Kentucky.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the worst games. I mean, this is going to be a Michigan State-Oregon Bowl game from a couple years ago when it was 9-6 or whatever. This is
7-6.
Yeah.
It's because Lewerke dropped the snap.
That's right. This game, Kentucky might be able to put up some points, but maybe this game is. I mean, Iowa's not going to score, so this is just going to be an ugly game. And who knows? I think Kentucky's probably the better team, but I mean, this is a perfect game for Iowa the way they like to play.
Yeah, it's going to be really low scoring. Iowa, they're not that good. Kentucky, I don't think they're that good either. But listen, I mean, it's tough to be any worse than Iowa's offense. Iowa's probably not going to score a point in this game. I'll take Kentucky 6-0.
Yeah, I don't know about Kentucky's defense. Even as bad as Iowa's offense is, Kentucky's defense has been suspect at times this year. Especially, against, I know Tennessee is just, they're different than most teams, so it's hard, but they struggled in a couple games. I know they didn't play great against Mississippi State, Will Rogers, but this is a completely different offense, obviously. I like Iowa a little bit in this game because, here's the thing about Kentucky is their offense is a little, it's not great. They got Will Levis. They like to run the ball a lot. Iowa's good at stopping the run. They don't throw the ball a whole lot. And I think that kind of plays into Iowa's hands a little bit. And Iowa's usually pretty good in bowl games. Seems like. Remember, they beat Mississippi State one year. I thought they had no chance to win the game. They won. Then they beat USC a couple of years ago. So, I mean, they're always usually up for bowl games. Kirk Ferentz does a good job. But, it could just be a case where Kentucky's got SEC speed and they're just not ready for it. I could see that also. But I think Iowa has a good chance to win the game. All right. Last one, Ohio State and Utah in the Rose Bowl.
I mean, I think we know basically what we're going to get out of Utah. I don't think they're going to have anybody opting out or anything like that. I think they're going to play this. They're going to care about this game. They're going to play it as if it's any other game. So I think basically, what you're going to get out of Utah. I think Ohio State's a massive question mark. Because I think you're going to have so on defense, the linebackers and secondary are all going to be back next year. So they'll all be playing. Stroud obviously will play. Henderson will play. And Smith and Jigbo will play. It'll be, do Olave and Wilson play? I don't know if I would if I were them, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it wouldn't be a shock either way. Is this team still caught up on losing to Michigan? Are they focused on next year? Is Ryan Day focused on next year? I mean, all the reports are saying he's been trying to change, reshuffle, and hire new defensive guys on the defensive side of the ball. So I think it's I think Utah probably right now. If you told me to pick right now, I'd pick Utah, but that's just because I think there are way too many question marks surrounding Ohio State going into this game.
Ohio State.
Well, yeah, Utah's the hottest team in college football right now. They've besides Oregon State, they've won every conference game, including Oregon twice. Of course, I think Oregon's had some problems also in terms of injuries and quarterback play. But gotta give Utah credit. Ohio State, I think I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing all the receivers are going to play because it's kind of like Alabama against Michigan in the output. Was it the Citrus Bowl a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Nobody thought Judy would play. Nobody thought Ruggs would play. And they all played and they all contributed.
Oh, they all played.
Yep. And it was, it's just a culture thing. For Ohio State, obviously Olave wanted to come back to win a championship, but you still play out. It's still the Rose Bowl.
It worked out for him.
Well, the goal for any Big Ten team going into the season should be to win the Rose Bowl, and that's what we got a chance to do.
Well, yeah. If this was 2001, I guess.
Listen,
but,
go find Woody Hayes and ask him what the goal is. Every year it's to beat Michigan and win the Rose Bowl. So
good. So you'd be batting 500 if you.
Yeah,
won.
we'll be batting 500.
Okay, fair enough. And so I would expect them to play, and I think Ohio State's just got a little bit too much, but I think it'll be a close game. There's a reason why Ohio State's only favored by 6.5. I mean, Utah is a really good team. They're playing really well too. They remind me of that USC team with Sam Darnold. Both teams went 9-3, won their conference championship. They're as hot as anybody right now, and they can run the ball. They can set up the play action. Their defense is really solid, and they're very experienced. They're the Utah team I thought I'd see at the start of the year. The reason why I picked Utah to win the Pac-12 at the start of the season. I might have picked Oregon, but I picked Utah to win the South. So yeah, I would favor Ohio State.
Anybody with a brain would have picked Utah to win the South.
Yeah. All right, let's go
which is exactly why I picked USC to win the entire Pac-12
and make the playoff.
You had them in the
playoff.
All right, let's go through the non-bowl teams in the Big Ten, and we'll talk about their futures and if they're trending up or trending down. I guess we'll start with the East. We'll start with Rutgers. How are you feeling about the trajectory?
I mean, it's unfortunate that they couldn't win that last game to make a bowl game, but they're 100% trending up. This is if you were to give this season a grade for Shiano, it's got to be an A- or an A.
No.
Yeah, I mean Rutgers is they're trending up for sure. They're doing pretty well in recruiting. They have a top 25 class right now. They're ahead of Boston College in recruiting, which is big. But yeah, Rutgers is trending up. I think that was like a B+ season for them. They had a couple games I think maybe they want back. The Maryland one probably included. So yeah, they're trending up. They will be good. They'll be a solid Big Ten team for a while as long as Shiano's there.
Yeah, they're definitely trending up, and they just didn't have what it takes to win in the trenches, to win at a Big Ten level. Their offensive line was bad. They couldn't run the ball defensively.
Well, Isaiah Pacheco was a honorable mention for the Big Ten.
Yeah, he also averaged like 2.7 yards a carry.
Yeah, he was great back.
Rutgers, I think the Michigan game really, that's what Rutgers football wants to be. They want to, that's a showcase game for them. They didn't win the game, but they really showed up. They played great, had a chance to win at the end, couldn't get it done. But, that's what Rutgers is aiming to be. They want to be a pest in the Big Ten East. They want to be. I don't know if they want to be what Iowa's been in the West, but want to be a team where you can't overlook. Maybe Purdue, a team that just ruins other teams' dreams. I don't know how high their ceiling is. Maybe with Chiano, they can be a great team. I don't know, but I mean they're in a stacked division, so yeah, definitely trending up. How about Indiana?
Obviously, I know Chris talked about it. I talked about it at the beginning of the year. They were gonna come down from their highs, but I didn't think it was gonna be this bad. I mean, they did get hit by injuries at key positions, but this was. I mean, this has got to be an F. This is a horrible season.
Yeah, embarrassing season for Indiana. They're trending down, as we talked about at the beginning of the season. It's going to be difficult for them to recruit. It's going to be difficult for them to win in this division. So they are trending way down.
I'm extremely worried about Indiana. Extremely worried about the future of Indiana football. Last year, I think it's becoming pretty clear to me that last year was a fluke.
Well, this year, I think Indiana football is not as good as they were last year, but I don't think they're as bad as they are this year. I think they got unlucky and they had a pretty tough schedule.
Yep.
I think realistically, Indiana's probably between a 4 and 7 win program every year to year.
They won 8 games a couple years ago. I thought they had an extremely easy schedule that year. They had an extremely easy schedule last year. And then they had, Michigan was
the Big Ten was
down.
really down last year too.
Everybody was down. Yeah. Michigan State was down. They played at Wisconsin. They were down, won the game. And
Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State. This year.
And it's crazy. It's crazy what confidence can do to a team. I mean, they got to the end of the year, they were playing with so much confidence that boosted them probably 10 to 20%.
Yep, and this year they played a rough schedule to say the least. They really didn't have a chance in. They went a stretch where they played like 5 top 10 teams in the first 7 games or something like that. I mean, it was ridiculous how many top 20 teams, but it's difficult, but. They kind of fell off the wagon after that. It's understandable. You start the year rough and then it kind of spirals out of control. But I mean, next year will be key because, a lot of times when you have a terrible year, you never get it back on the rails. And next year is important for Tom Allen, and they signed to the big contract. So hopefully,
Tom,
for their sake, he could be.
I don't think Tom Allen's in any trouble at the moment, but I mean that all can change fast.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna have to do decent next year. All right, Illinois.
Decent year for Illinois. Solid year. Not great, but not horrible. Belima probably overperformed, but as he said, their roster is very weak, and they've got to fill out. He's got to do some recruiting to fill out the roster.
Yeah, slight overperformance from Illinois this year. Trending up for now. We'll see how they do in recruiting, but a couple big wins. They get the big win over Northwestern in the year, so trending up.
Yeah, trending up, but I'm a little worried about the near future for Illinois. I mean, they were what they have like 6 or 7 seniors or super seniors on their offensive line that are going to be gone. I know he made the comment about how he didn't have guys any depth there in terms of non-seniors. I mean, it's going to be a rough next couple of years for Illinois unless they can get some offensive linemen and some other positions in the transfer portal. I don't know if he's a transfer portal guy, but he's going to have to use the transfer portal, I think. But yeah, I mean, Illinois, I think overall they're trending up, but it's going to be a rough couple of years, I think, for them. They might not get to 5 wins in the next 2 years just because of how poorly Lovie Smith left the roster.
No,
I mean, that's horrible.
First of all, I should have never fired Lovie Smith. He was doing a great job.
Yeah, maybe you should actually recruit an offensive lineman in the last 3 classes.
Well, he didn't need one because
he's too busy recruiting quarterbacks since he's the quarterback guru. been a defensive coordinator his whole
That's
life.
right. He's the quarterback guru.
Who's yeah, Jeff George Jr. That was a great one.
Yep. And they have, and obviously Peters,
I'm
He's
sure
great.
Peters will be back for his 30th year.
probably. Yeah.
All right, Nebraska.
Well, I mean, this is one of the weirdest seasons we've seen by any team that I can remember. We'll see next year if Scott Frost can turn. I don't know what their schedule looks like, but he can turn these close wins or close losses into wins, and I think he could build something successful at Nebraska. I don't think they're going to get back to national prominence like they were in the '90s, but they can get to especially in the West, if the division stay as they are, they can get to a consistent 8, 9, 10 wins a year and be winning the West every few years.
Oh, they got Oklahoma next year at home.
Did you see? Well, that's all changed now that Lincoln Riley's gone. Who knows how that goes? But did you see? Nebraska had a better average point differential than Western Kentucky did, and Western Kentucky went 8-4.
Yep.
I'm not surprised.
Hey, listen, the season is an F for Nebraska. I understand they're talented. I understand they lost games they shouldn't have lost. But the bottom line is, if you lose that many close games, it's a culture problem. I thought keeping Scott Frost was a mistake.
No, it's not.
The fact that you choke every close game is a culture problem. It says something about the toughness of your players, and it's a big problem for Nebraska.
Yeah, but why can't Scott Frost do what Harbaugh just did this year?
Yeah, well, Harbaugh wasn't going 3-9.
No, he's
What
going
did he go
2-5.
last year?
Well, last year didn't count. He was going, he was going 9-3, but he
Yeah,
wasn't.
but you also had a lot higher floor at Michigan when Harbaugh came in.
Yeah, and we lost some close games. We weren't tough, but we got tough this year, and I don't think Scott Frost.
Well, you were
can do
out
that.
tough by Michigan State. That's what Mel Tucker
Yeah,
said.
there it is. The Michigan State fan inserting himself into the conversation.
I mean, I'm literally leading the conversation. So, no, listen, it was a terrible year for Nebraska. But you know what this Nebraska team reminded me of? Remember, not last year.
Probably 2016 Michigan State or whatever team you always compare every
No.
single team in the country to.
I'm not going to go with Michigan State. What they did remind me of that team a little bit, but they reminded me of Indiana basketball. Was it 2018 or 2019, where they started off really well, and then they lost like 12 straight or 13 straight conference games, and every single loss was like by 5 points or less. That's what this, and then they just missed the tournament. They were right on the cusp.
They had a horrible coach. So
What?
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Here's what I think it is. I think once you start losing some close games, you start thinking or just waiting for bad things to happen to you. And I think that was the case with Nebraska this year. I don't know if that's I don't think it's a coaching issue. Obviously, they had some times where they were brutal in terms of coaching. But, I mean, how is it the coach's fault when Adrian Martinez is throwing it to the other team? I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do coaching-wise or fumbling the ball in every big situation.
They convinced them to go into the
Adrian
transfer
Martinez
portal.
should have been benched.
For who? Who is
I
that
don't
guy?
know.
Settles or the hell?
Yeah, he was pretty good in the Iowa game.
Yeah, not good enough because they lost.
Yeah, well, Martinez should have been benched. He is horrible.
Yeah, he's who did Martinez remind me of? Spencer Sanders. Yeah, he's
in the transfer portal.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, if I'm a power conference program, I'm not taking him.
Here's the problem, and then listen. Look at Nebraska's schedule. It's not. Listen, last year was brutal, but this year. You're starting the protected rivalry with Michigan next year, so they'll play them every year. But you don't get Ohio State, you don't get Penn State, you don't get Michigan State. Next year is an opportunity for Nebraska to make up for this year. They start the season against Northwestern in Dublin on August 27th. Again, I'm not a big proponent of playing meaningful games on your first game of the year. I mean, that's just a recipe for disaster, especially for Nebraska. You saw what happened against
saw
Illinois
this
this year.
Yeah.
But they play Northwestern. That's a game they should win. North Dakota, you got Clay Helton and Georgia Southern coming into town, and then that I think they should beat Oklahoma next year. I mean, obviously we don't know much about teams next year, but I'm assuming Oklahoma's going to be they're going to regress a lot. I'm assuming that's a game they can win. And then conference season, there's not a game they can lose or there's not a game they can't win except for maybe at Michigan. They could win every single other game, maybe at Wisconsin. So it's obviously, I mean, it doesn't look good now, but next year's going to be key. They got to win 7, 6, 7, 8 games next year. All right, Northwestern.
I mean, it's Northwestern. It's one of the hardest jobs in the country. Obviously, not as good of a year as what I think Fitzgerald wanted, but I think they'll probably bounce back next year. They lost a lot of talent, but this is just classic Northwestern.
Yeah. It's a wait and see thing for Northwestern. They're usually every other year, every third year. So I expect them to be a little bit better next year and make their run in a couple of years. They'll be fine.
Yeah, they did the whole first to worst to first and then worst again this year. I don't think they'll be in first next year. I think they're still a year or two away from even competing in the West. Because their roster this year, very young roster, and they struggled on both sides of the football. Usually a Northwestern team, even when they're bad, usually it's because their offense is just terrible and their defense is still really good. This year, both offense and defense was terrible. So next year you want to see improvement on both sides of the football, and maybe they can make a run at a bowl game, but I don't think they'll be great next year either. And maybe the year after that, maybe they could get back to where they were last year and a couple years before that. But I mean, it's you can't doubt Pat Fitzgerald at this time. But I am for next year at least. All right. So Cristobal, it appears, is going to Miami, and I believe Brett Venables is, I don't know if it's official yet, but it's close to official. So reactions to these two hires.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the Venables going shows the continuous decline of Clemson and Dabo running them into the ground.
That's right.
And I mean, I think Cristobal is probably the perfect coach for Miami, weirdly, because he'll be able to bring back to national prominence. They might not be a great in-game coach, but I mean, he can recruit with anybody in the country. The ACC's down. Someone has to jump up and grab it. I think he can basically do what he did with Oregon. But I did see some Oregon fans were upset because of the way he left. He said it was a little sleazy doing a press conference when he already agreed to become the Miami coach. I don't know how true that is and stuff like that, but I just think it's a little interesting. There's been a lot of I know it's never a clean, especially the last few years now that they've changed the early signing period. It's never clean when coaches leave, but it seems like this year it's been especially controversial. And then Venables going to Oklahoma, good move for Venables. I don't know if it's a great hire for Oklahoma. I don't think we really know how good of a coach. He's a good defensive coach. We know Venables is. I don't know how great of a recruiter he is. I don't know how great of a head coach he is. Those are all the big question marks. But I mean, I don't. I think it's just an average hire, especially as you're moving into the SEC.
Yeah, it's a lazy. The Venables hire is a lazy hire by Oklahoma, and it proves that they're going to be turning in the next Nebraska. It's a whatever hire. He's a good coordinator. We have no idea if he's a good head coach. And as Luke was saying, this does contribute to the decline of Clemson, losing assistants there. As for what was the other one? Cristobal to Miami. Yeah, I mean, if you're Mario Cristobal, that's probably the right move. Miami, you get more resources. The ACC is down.
No, you don't.
You got more resources.
Not even close.
No, Miami's going all in. So yeah, I mean that's the right move. That's a better job. But
Well, he's from Miami, isn't he?
Not a better job.
it is a better job.
Yeah,
Miami's
yes.
a better job. Than
Not even close.
Yes, it is.
Oregon's by far a better job.
No, Miami is a much better job.
Well, Miami doesn't have the entirety of Nike behind it.
Yeah, well, that's yeah, then or Mario Cristobal is a great recruiter. Don't get me wrong, but in my opinion, Miami could have done better here.
Like who? Like who? Who
I don't
should
know.
they have gotten?
I have no idea, but they could have done better than
Lane
that because-
Kiffin?
Let me tell you about this guy, Cristobal. He's not a bad coach. He is a complete bum head coach.
Okay,
Horrible-
where's your evidence? He won a Rose Bowl.
He is a horrible head coach. Every week they play, the team is ill prepared, and he's a horrible in-game coach. They're a top 10 talented team, and they went 9-3 in the Pac-12 and got destroyed twice by Utah.
Yeah, well, you didn't take injuries into account.
Yeah, I don't care. He's a horrible coach. I mean, just awful. A brutal head coach. And sure, he'll probably, he'll win his games at Miami, but they're never gonna win big because he's a horrible coach.
This is a game-changing hire for Miami, and this is there was no way I thought they'd be able to get him because the turmoil inside Miami's athletic department.
I'm reading up more on people talking about this Cristobal Miami thing, and I don't even know. Apparently, Manny Diaz hasn't even been told if he's gone or not.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Who
that.
cares?
It's ridiculous the way Miami handled that. You can't be negotiating with somebody else while you still have a head coach.
Who cares?
And then apparently Cristobal allegedly there was supposed to be a team meeting at 4:30, but Cristobal was in San Diego at 2:00, and you can't even get back to Eugene in that amount of time
It takes more than 2.5 hours to get there.
from San Diego.
I don't know, maybe.
Apparently, that's just what people are saying.
I mean, I understand he's a Miami guy, but my point
He
is,
played at Miami. I understand why he
Yeah.
wants the job. It just the whole thing just seems
I mean,
weird.
the athletic department of Miami has been in shambles. We've heard about how bad of a coaching search or how bad of an AD search it's been. We've heard, the thing about Miami is the one thing they've been criticized for is not investing enough in football. I mean, obviously, you think that they're going to be able to do that now that they hire a guy like him. Facilities are not great. One of the, for the level of program Miami is, their facilities are not at a level that you expect them to be. It's just the culture of their fan base. I mean, the University of Miami is not even close to the stadium. It's kind of a USC type of thing, fan base isn't huge, but when they're good, it's a great fan base. They haven't been good in a long time. I mean, it's a game-changing hire. He's going to be able to recruit extremely well. He's going to be able to build a fence around Miami and keep those guys in. That's what he's going to have to do. If he can do that, Miami will be a great program. And I think they punched above their weight with that hire. I really believe that, especially with the state of what Miami is in. And in terms of the Venables hire, I think they're going for a fit hire because, Venables, he was there for a long time under Bob Stoops. He went to go to Clemson, but he's an Oklahoma guy. He understands what it takes to win there. It's a little underwhelming, especially with, the other hires that people made, but I think they're going for a fit hire, a guy who understands Oklahoma and if he hires a good staff, will do a good job. If they could have gotten a guy like Dave Aranda, I would have pulled the trigger on him, but I don't think he was going to leave Baylor. So,
so apparently Miami doesn't even have an AD right now, and it's a
No,
bunch of It's a bunch of boosters trying to hire him.
yeah, they don't. It's a mess. So, it's a fit.
How about
fit
this?
hire.
So this apparently Miami has given Mario Cristobal noon on Monday to accept or decline the job, and if he accepts it, obviously he'll be the coach. But if he declines, they plan on keeping Manny Diaz. I mean, if you're Manny Diaz, you just gotta be like F you at this point.
I think Manny Diaz will just take the freaking money. I don't think he cares. You can't. I mean, it's just a complete mess. You can't run it again. You can't run it with Manny Diaz again. He's a disaster of a head coach. He's
No,
one of
but
the
you
worst
also
coaches.
can't be in the you can't tell you it's just not right to have Manny Diaz out here recruiting and still as the head coach at Miami while you're trying to bring someone else in and then say if you don't want to come then we'll just stick with Manny Diaz.
Yeah, I mean, I told you it's a mess. I mean, there have been reports about how bad the AD search was there, how it's going. I mean, what AD would want to go to a school that's already hired a head coach? I don't care how good Mario Cristobal is. That you're an AD for a reason. You're an AD because you want to hire your guy. That's just how it works usually. I'm shocked Cristobal is going to take the deal. I'm shocked.
It's a better job.
Not even close to a better job. The
Better
only thing
Well,
that's better is
Mike,
recruiting.
it's where his heart is. It's probably his dream job.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, Oregon is in terms of resources, in terms of facilities. I mean, he can ask any question he wants and it'd be answered with a yes if he was at Oregon. I don't know if that's the case in Miami. They're going to have to get a lot more invested in football, which I'm assuming they're doing, which is a good thing. I mean, the sport is better when Miami football is good, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And then, like I said, I think Venables is a fit hire. We'll see if we've seen fit hires work. I think it's just similar to like a Sam Pittman. That sort of everybody hated the Sam Pittman hire, but he was a great fit at Arkansas. I think Venables is going to have to be the same thing at Oklahoma. But again, we'll see. Interesting. Hold on.
Cristobal's bio on Twitter still says he's the head football coach at Oregon.
Yeah, I don't think he's officially taken it yet. I think it's been reported that he's taken it.
And he was out recruiting.
Apparently Caesar's Sports says Michigan State's favored by 3.5, and then
To get Mario Cristobal?
but yeah, exactly. That's weird. Well, if Michigan State is favored on any service, I would take Pittsburgh money line. That's ridiculous. Anyway, whatever. All right, let's move on to the picks. We're gonna save the New Year's Six picks for the next podcast, but we'll pick every other bowl game, and we'll also pick Army Navy. So we'll start with Army Navy.
I'll take Navy. I always root for Navy.
Well, hold on. Let me take a look at the. Well, actually, I'm going to take Army anyway. So
Yeah, Army's favored, but I always root for
I'll
Navy.
take
So
I'm 6 games back. So hopefully that's one.
Army's gonna win. Bahamas Bowl, Middle Tennessee against Toledo.
Yeah, thank God.
Toledo.
I'd like to comment on something first. Mike brought it up earlier. The fact that 6 and 6 and 7 and 5 teams make bowls is ridiculous. And also the fact that we have to win.
The only fun part about it is when it's a random weekday and you turn on the TV and you see a bowl game. That's the only fun part about it. And then you watch it for 5 minutes and realize it's a 6 and 6 versus 6 and 6 team, and then you turn it
No,
off.
I think it's a little different for the group of 5 teams because they have 3 automatic losses on their schedule every year at least.
Fair point.
And also it's ridiculous that we have to wait a month for the playoff. Also ridiculous. Anyway.
Oh, boo-hoo. You get to watch Michigan lose in basketball.
I will take Toledo.
Luke?
I already picked Toledo.
Okay. I'll take Toledo also. The Cure Bowl. Northern
I'll take
Illinois.
Coastal Carolina.
I'll also
Northern
take
Illinois.
Coastal Carolina.
Really?
Yeah.
I would, but I can't go against Rocky. I'm taking Northern Illinois.
You also have to make up like 20 games.
That's fine. Boca Raton, Western Kentucky versus App State.
I'll take Western Kentucky.
Well, I'll take App State because Luke took Western Kentucky.
I'm going to take Western Kentucky. I can't go against my guy, Bailey Zappi. under any circumstance. They could be playing Bama. I'd take Western Kentucky. The New Mexico Bowl, UTEP against Fresno State.
Yeah,
Tough
what a
matchup.
disaster end of the season
Tough
for
matchup for
UTEP.
the Fighting Dave Warners.
Yeah, I'll take Fresno State, even though they don't have the coach.
Fresno State.
You know, I'm going to take the Fighting Dave Warners just because I'm not going to go against my guy Dave Warner.
They've had a tough end of the year. Didn't they start out 6-0 or something like that?
Yeah, they were 6-1, but they really didn't play anybody, and finished the year. They struggled at the end of the year. The Independence Bowl, BYU versus UAB.
Yeah, BYU.
BYU.
I'll take BYU, but I think UAB is pretty good. You know, they're a solid Group of 5 team. It'll be a decent game. The Lending Tree Bowl, Eastern Michigan against Liberty.
Liberty.
You know, my guy Chris Creighton, he's done a great job at Eastern Michigan, but I'll take Liberty to win. The Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl, Oregon State against Utah State.
I'll take Utah State.
I'll take Oregon State because Luke picked Utah State.
I'm going to take Oregon State. I think they're better, just a better team. Utah State, great end of the year, but they haven't faced a team like Oregon State this year and won. The New Orleans Bowl, we got Louisiana against
But they
Marshall.
just beat San Diego State, who's in the rankings by like 40. So
Yeah, well, San Diego State had a bunch of injuries and weird stuff happen.
I'll take Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Yeah, I'll take Louisiana also. I'm like Kirk Ferentz. I'm punting down 14. You know, just limit the damage. Even though it didn't work for them because they still lost 42-3, but you know, that sort of thing. The Myrtle Beach Bowl, Old Dominion versus Tulsa.
I don't really know anything about either of these teams. I think it's a pretty fair matchup. I guess I'll take Tulsa, maybe. Yeah, I'll take Tulsa.
Yeah, I'll go Tulsa.
Yeah, Tulsa's just a better team. I'll take Tulsa. The Idaho Potato Bowl, Kent State versus Wyoming. This is a great bowl.
I'll take Wyoming.
I'll take Kent State because Luke took Wyoming.
I'm taking Wyoming. Yeah, the Frisco Bowl, UTSA versus San Diego State.
I'll take San Diego. I'll take San Diego State.
Yeah, San Diego State.
I'm taking UTSA here. I think San Diego State's had some issues with injuries. I mean, obviously they'll probably get some back, but impressive what Jeff
San Diego
Traylor.
State's really well coached.
The Brady choke effect. Okay, the Armed Forces Bowl, Missouri gets rewarded with their 6-6 record against a triple option team in the bowl game.
Yeah, I'll take Army.
Army.
Yeah, we've seen this before. I'm taking Army. The bowl they just added a couple days ago, the Frisco Football Classic, North Texas against Miami.
What do you mean
Ohio.
they just added a bowl? Do they have too many teams?
Yeah, they had too many teams, so they added a bowl.
Who's the under
Interesting.
500 team that got in? Who's the?
No,
Nobody.
there are none.
There was
Yeah.
one team left out though. That was 6-6, right?
Yeah, I think I forgot what team it was. I think a team did get left out though.
I'll take North Texas because they're hot.
I'll go Miami because Luke took North Texas.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Miami, Ohio. Okay, the Gasparilla Bowl at the Trop. We got UCF against Florida.
I mean, I'm gonna take UCF
I'm also going to take UCF.
just because Florida's a disaster.
Actually, you know what? Dylan Gabriel's transferring, isn't he?
Yep.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
still picking them?
Yeah, I'm still picking. them.
Chris, Florida's a disaster.
Yeah, Florida's a disaster. I'm still taking UCF.
I'm picking Florida, just because the SEC it just means more, and the UCF's not in the SEC. I'm taking Florida.
We have an SEC coach.
It doesn't matter. All right, the Hawaii Bowl. We got Hawaii versus Memphis.
I'll take Memphis.
Memphis.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Memphis. The Camellia Bowl, Georgia State versus Ball State. What a game.
Georgia State.
Ball State because Luke took Georgia State.
I'm gonna take Georgia State. The Quick Lane Bowl, Western Michigan versus Nevada.
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 I got Western Michigan. Talk about a team that's hot. They've ended the season pretty well after a disappointing middle of the year. I'll take Western. The Military Bowl, BC versus East Carolina.
BC.
BC.
East Carolina, the Purple Pirates will be ready and they will win the game. The Birmingham Bowl, Houston versus Auburn.
Houston.
Yeah, I'll take Houston. Auburn's had some injury issues.
I'm taking Auburn because the SEC just means more. The First Responder Bowl, Air Force versus Louisville.
Air Force.
Louisville.
Yeah, another matchup between. Yeah, I'm going to take Louisville. I think they're a decent team. Mississippi State versus Texas Tech in the Liberty Bowl. We're starting to get to the decent bowls.
Mississippi State.
Mississippi
100.
State in a blowout. Yeah.
Well, is Quinn Ewers going to play for Texas Tech? That's the question.
Doesn't matter because Will Rogers is playing for Mississippi State.
I'm going to take Mississippi State. All right, the Holiday Bowl. Once the Big Ten, now the ACC. It's NC State against UCLA.
Yeah, I'll take NC State
NC State.
because UCLA is not going to have a coach when Chip Kelly leaves to go to Oregon.
You know, I didn't think about that. I'm going to take UCLA. We got the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, West Virginia and Minnesota.
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 Yeah, Minnesota. The Fenway Bowl, SMU versus Virginia.
Is Bronco Mendenhall coaching this game? It's his last game in charge, right?
I think so.
I'll
He
take
might actually. I don't know that for a fact. You should
I'll
probably
take
look it
Virginia
up.
then.
I'll take Virginia either way.
Yeah, Virginia either way, probably. Pinstripe Bowl, Maryland versus Virginia Tech.
Maryland.
Maryland.
Maryland. Okay, Clemson versus Iowa State, the Cheez-It Bowl.
Iowa State.
Formerly the Camping World Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with Luke. Iowa State. Clemson's not going to take this game seriously.
I actually disagree. I think they will. I'm going to take Clemson. I'm worried about Iowa State because just the expectations, they've fallen up way short. I understand it's their last game, but I don't know if they'll be into it. I'm taking Clemson. The Alamo Bowl. Now, this is a battle of we're assuming two teams without coaches.
Is Brent
Like-
Venables going to coach this game?
No, Bob Stoops will actually.
Oh, then I'm taking Oklahoma.
All right, I'll take Oregon because Cristobal leaving will help them because he's a horrible coach, and Luke took Oklahoma.
Man, what a weird game. Oklahoma doesn't have Caleb Williams. I'm assuming. Actually, he might play. He might play, but
Might
they
play
don't
and then
have-
transfer.
yeah. I'm gonna take Oregon. I think Oregon's just had
The
less
weird thing
turmoil.
about it is that, like, it is just a weird game because no one, just with the developments over the last couple weeks.
Both teams, they're not used to being in a non-New Year's Six game. So yeah, it'll be a weird game. Probably one of the best matchups in a bowl game is the Duke's Mayo Bowl. We got North Carolina and South Carolina.
I'll take North Carolina, I guess.
North Carolina.
You know what? I'm going with the Shane Beamer upset. I'm going to do it. I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to take South Carolina. I know South Carolina's double-digit underdogs right now. But hey, listen, I've doubted them before, and Shane Beamer's figured out a way. I'm taking South Carolina. All right, the Music City Bowl, Tennessee and Purdue.
I'll take Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Tennessee. The Las Vegas Bowl, Wisconsin and Arizona State.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin. The Gator Bowl, Wake Forest versus Texas A&M.
Wake Forest.
Texas A&M.
Hold on. Click on it. Yeah, I'm taking the SEC team because it just means more. Washington State, Miami, and the Sun Bowl, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
Washington State. Is Cristobal going to be coaching this game?
That might be Manny Diaz.
Oh, I hope Manny Diaz coaches that game. That'd be hilarious.
I'll take Washington State.
Well, I'm going to take Miami. All right, the Barstool Arizona Bowl. Boise State versus Central Michigan.
What's the line on this game? Does anybody know?
No idea.
I'll go with Central Michigan.
I'll take Boise because Luke took
Jim
that.
McElwain.
Yeah, I'll take Boise. They're just a better team. The Outback Bowl, Arkansas and Penn State.
Arkansas, and it's just going to be a culture win. They're just going to win because they have a better culture.
Arkansas.
Yep, Arkansas. Citrus Bowl, Iowa and Kentucky.
I'll go with Kentucky.
Kentucky.
I'm going to take Iowa. I think this is a game they win. All right, the final one on here, the Texas Bowl, LSU and Kansas State.
I'll take Kansas State.
Toss-up game for me here, but Luke took Kansas State, so I'll take LSU.
Yeah, I think this is a big time opportunity for Chris Kleiman. I think LSU's obviously checked out a little bit. Coach,
Chris,
O's
we're probably going to end up going 50-50 on those games, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to take Kansas State. All right. Well, look at. I guess we'll take a look at the standings. Luke's up 6 on Chris, up 17 on me. All right, so that'll do it for this episode of the Big Four podcast, and we'll
Just gotta
see you later.
casually throw that in there that he's up 17 on you.
I mean, being 17 with how we've picked over, how many games we've picked? We've picked over,
Probably close to 300.
yeah, close to 300 games. I mean, come on, over 300 games actually. So, I mean, it's not that bad.
Pretty bad.
No. All right, that'll do it. We'll see you later this week for basketball. Thank you for watching.